welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Today, I wanted to start by doing, flip this back. My blood sugar is currently 13.7. This is done first thing in the morning. This is after I had a low, so who knows? What I want to talk to you today is about behaviors. You, your son, or your daughter's being diagnosed with type 1. Great, okay. You go to either diabetic daycare or you were taught in the hospital how to do things correct. You know, how to take care of yourself. But you find that things don't always happen. Life gets in the way and you falter. The simple answer to this is, well, the next blood sugar, you get up, you try to correct, and you move on under doctor's view. Your doctor should give you correction values and how to correct. The important thing is you don't let this get the best of you. Your blood sugars may falter because you ate a whole box of candy one day. The next day is a brand new start. Well, actually, not the next day. The next blood sugar, or right from that moment, continue on and develop a system where you're not going to falter. So often, I know for me, when I would leave the hospital, oh yes, I'm going to do everything perfect. And I do, make sure all my weights were done correctly for eating. And I do a whole bunch of other things, following the guidelines. One thing falters, oh well, I forgot to do that. Oh well, I'll do it next. And you fall into a pattern of where you don't do these things. And then it just becomes the norm to forget. Next thing you know, you could be having high blood sugars all the time. But you need to ensure that if you falter, and it could be for any reason, next chance you get on that rope again. People think it's such a letdown. It's not a letdown. If you screw up, you screw up. Pure and simple. Move it along. And we did a video. Actually, I think it's a video just before this, of where we talk about celebrating the positives. Celebrating what you did right. And so often, again, we start thinking negatively. Now, they say for things, I think it's 90 days, of you repeatedly doing something so it becomes a habit. Problem was, I didn't always reach that far. Yeah, I'd go in for a week, maybe, if I was lucky. And I know one time I came out of the hospital and I decided I was going to do everything perfect and have an awesome blood sugars. Well, I never really achieved the awesome blood sugars because you don't achieve the perfect blood sugar. You could strive for excellence, but you won't ever be perfect. And people take that to heart and believe they fail, and their behaviors follow suit. But I started to record my blood sugar. I made on the computer a nice little computer thing. I made up a binder. And this binder started to carry on a life of its own. And in there, I would do all the blood sugars 4 times a day, and I'd test. And, they'd say, okay, we're going for lunch. I'd say, okay, and I'd go and test. Before, I wouldn't have really mattered. And then I got a week done, and I was so proud of myself. And then I got 2 weeks done. Oh, and I forgot to do blood sugar one day, and I thought, oh well, we'll leave it. I did the blood sugar late, but I still made sure I did it. I was trying to program myself into doing blood sugars. Now, it's a force of habit with me. It could be very easily lost, but I make sure 4 times a day I do my blood sugar, and it gets recorded in here. I don't have to have the binder anymore. I don't need to record every single blood sugar, because new technology does it for me. So I talk a bit about behaviors, because if your son or daughter does something one day that causes them to have a severe low or a severe high that could end up in DKA, don't just sort of sit there and say, do you know what that's going to do to you? People have lost limbs. People have died. Scare tactics don't work. I could say to someone, well, if you don't watch your diabetes, you could end up in a place like this. But again, I know personally, scare tactics don't work. I can remember when I was first diagnosed and first trained, I was told, well, you have to keep your blood sugars within range or you'll lose a foot. I've been lucky that I haven't had that happen. And there have been times where I have been the worst diabetic ever. There's also been times where I've strived to be the best I can be. But, when you try to do your best and do your best behaviors with your diabetes, you start to feel better. And when you start to feel better, nothing can stop you. But it's just that one little hiccup, and that could blow everything out the window. You need to work on developing yourself. Keep growing, and if you falter, you made a mistake. Learn from the mistakes and carry on. I know now that, and it keeps going in my mind. I can tell you, your real test of your behaviors is when you're doing everything you're supposed to. You're doing your blood sugars 4 times a day. You're counting your carbs. You're getting your insulin. And you still can't get the numbers you want. Don't fret. Just keep plugging away. Yes, you may have hit the wall, but that's not the end of the world. Anyway, have a great day and try to strive to do better every day. I'll talk to you later. Bye now.